Hello and welcome to our chat about some backwards compatibility on the PS5. I'm joined by Adam, who has been deep in the backwards compatibility. How you going, mate?
Deep in the back. Yeah, it's interesting because obviously reviewing the Series X and the PlayStation 5 has meant that there's a lot of new games. There's also a lot of old games, and while we sort of put out a video showing Doom Eternal, how quickly that loads on Series X, with the PS5 I've been able to look at some specific games, because there's always been a lot of talk about the SSD, and also, of course, they've patched Days Gone, which I have had the chance to play.
That's the first one I wanted to go to, because in your review for the PS5, you mentioned how it looks and feels like a completely different game, visually, and that's really exciting to me, because whilst it didn't look bad, it could definitely looked a lot better with the improvements. So how does it look on the PS5, I guess?
So man, I was thinking back to when you were reviewing that game on PS4, base PS4, and I was playing it on, I think, PS4 Pro at the time, and I remember having the discussion with you about there was some frame pacing issues, and the frame rate was all over the place on PS4.
Yeah.
And they have got there. It's been patched so many times. But this patch for PS5 version of not the version, the patch of the game that sort of, I guess it's like an upgrade almost, gives you 4K 60. And I was really, people will be seeing it as we're talking, but I was really taken aback by what an impact that had.
Yeah.
The game... There's something to be said for games like this. You spend an enormous amount of time playing these open world games, and there's something to be said about them just being a smooth experience.
Yeah.
And obviously there were lots of other bugs and stuff with the game originally, there was weird audio stuff, and they fixed that over time. But this now runs at, I think, a dynamic 40 up to 60 FPS. And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say I've played hours and hours of it, because I've been focusing on, obviously, the new games and the system. But I couldn't spot any drops. It just runs kind of... I wonder if it's the original vision of... It's made me want to carry on, man. It's made me want to... Because I didn't finish it, and I picked up my save, and obviously mid-game in an open-world game, there's a lot to pick up on. But I want to carry on with it, because... it just runs that much better, and it looks gorgeous. And there's at the time of us recording this chat, there's a similar patch apparently in the works for Ghost of Tsushima, which hasn't been deployed yet, but will be before people get to play the PS5. So perhaps we can do another video on that. Which apparently, and this is mad to me, because this game already was quick. Apparently, it makes the loading times even faster. And for Tsushima, that was one of those games where it actually, even on the PS4 Pro, surprised me how quickly it ran.
Yeah, it did. And it also
how quickly it loaded.
It looked fantastic as it was. So with added resolutions and whatnot, it's going to look insane.
Yeah, there's no telling what they can do. Backwards compatibility, generally, it's been... I don't want to say it's been a mixed bag. It's different on PlayStation 5, I think, but also kind of not that different. So on Xbox Series X, you just get the benefits. It's kind of... The reason I chose Doom for our video is because it's not optimized, it's not patched, it just runs faster, smoother, better. And the PlayStation 5, it seems, can use its power to do that. So, for example, Bloodborne and Monster Hunter World, although I spent more time with Bloodborne because it's one of my favourite games of the gen, it doesn't... To my eyes, it doesn't run better.
Yeah.
But then again, they did kind of get there.
Yes, they did.
I guess it runs akin to boost mode on the Pro, but what it does do is load quicker. I had to check with a friend, actually, because I just didn't, time's a factor, and I had to check with a friend's PS4 Pro load, and it does load quicker. Monster Hunter World does load quicker. I'm not sure what other games really... there's other games I haven't had a chance to try, you've reviewed Fuser, and I've got that installed, but on my PS5 as a PS4 game.
Yeah.
You'll see on the UI, for example, it will say, FIFA 21, and there'll be a line, and it'll say PS4, so you know what you're running. But there does seem to be benefit in terms of that SSD. It does seem to make games load quicker. Like I say, Bloodborne was one of those where I had to stop myself. So now I can feel myself just
Falling
starting
back
to play this.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
But it does load quicker. I will say Bloodborne, I would dearly hope they actually go back and do the work for, because that's a game that on this console because I think it's still, I've seen, and you'll see on the channel here, so do subscribe, like the Spider-Man video review where I show the load times, and you could do work on Bloodborne to optimize it to take advantage of that SSD. Now I don't know how much work is involved in that, but the fact it's being done for Ghost of Tsushima suggests it is doable, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The fact that Days Gone has been patched to run at 4K 60, and I would implore people to, if they're watching, when they're watching this video, if you haven't already, just click on the icon to make sure you are looking at it at 4K 60, because YouTube tends to default to 1080 or sometimes 720 60 if you're on a mobile. But to see it, I've taken great lengths to record it and capture at 4K 60 to be able to show you that sort of depth of resolution almost. I'm one of these, it's worth saying that I like when consoles can do the backwards compatibility, but I will say I am someone who, a bit like Sony, believes in generations. But I of course it's great that these games run. What's impressive is that it seems that on both consoles we're getting improvements on older games.
Yeah.
And maybe Days Gone is just the kind of perfect one for me because I didn't finish it. I also tried The Last of Us Part 2. No noticeable improvements I could see, but that is a more recent game, and I would be amazed if they don't try and patch that, or maybe we get a PS5 native version.
Quite possibly. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's in its infancy. There's still a lot of games to be improved upon, and with not tons of launch games for the foreseeable few months, there's time to do this with games like The Last of Us Part 2, with games like God of War, Horizon. There's plenty of time for them to do that, and the fact that Days Gone, which was a relatively average game at launch, to have that patch now for the current I was going to say the current gen, but it will be soon.
Well, yeah.
The next gen, it's going to be bringing a lot of people back, including me, I think, because I loved it, but it did have performance issues. And technical
it had issues.
But if that's all been sorted, then there's no reason why it won't be one of the kind of games people go back to. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time, and I'm glad that some of these backward compat games are working very well on PS5, especially the load times, because when Bloodborne first came out, it was terrible. Then they patched it, but to have that even faster would make a lot of people dive into these games. So,
yes.
Yeah, it's exciting, man.
Very much so, and not to be the promoter type thing here, but we'll have more.
Absolutely,
There's lots coming. There's lots to discuss. You'll see. Go to God is a Geek and read the full PS5 review. I am very, very impressed and enjoying my time with that thing, and continue to enjoy my time with that thing.
Yeah, no, it's a great review. As Adam says, you can go on the website and check that out. It details the PS5 very heavily, and that's what you kind of want. And it will be updated as Adam plays more if he sees fit, because things will change, things will be more noticeable and whatnot as new games come out.
There's a few games at this point as we're recording, as the review is going to go live today with this video as well, that I'm not allowed to talk about yet. And one of them you're playing, Bugsnax. We'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so thank you all for listening, and take care. Bye-bye.